Hello, fine folks. How's your day? I hope you all are doing absolutely fine. Today, we've got a wild story about an entitled woman who thought the world should revolve around her, even at the airport. From demanding special treatment to throwing a tantrum. Let's dive into how she made everyone's travel experience just a little bit worse.
Idiots in the airport. I was on my way back from seeing my daughter, son-in-law, and meeting my granddaughter for the first time where they live in the sticker patch in the western U.S. Mind you, I was on crutches as I had fractured my ankle in an accident the 2 days before I left home. Styling and profiling in a purple cast which was a little hard to miss, or so I thought. I was in an airport wheelchair being pushed by one of the staff when we were stopped by a Karen looking for her terminal. Now, we'd been stopped a couple times already, and it wasn't a huge deal. He'd give directions, and we would get back on our way to the terminal I needed to be at. Karen, however, wanted him to escort her to her destination. He told her he would get me to where I needed to be and would come back to help her then if she was still lost. Karen was having none of this. She looked down at me like I bathed in 100% grade A skunk piss, then told him that she required his help more than I did and demanded that I get up and walk because she was tired and needed a rest while he took her to her terminal. I am sitting in this wheelchair, my purse looped around my neck, my carry-on between my feet, and trying desperately not to trip anyone with my crutches, wearing a vivid purple cast on my ankle. The attendant is trying to be polite. Then she proceeded to grab my arm and try to pull me out of the seat. I'm the type that doesn't like being touched by strangers. Ever. I looked her in the eye and tell her that since my hands are full and my foot is broken, that gives me no choice but to bite her if she doesn't keep her mitts to herself. She jerks her hand back, and I honestly thought this walking canker sore was going to swoon. The attendant takes the opportunity to push me through the crowd and towards my destination yet again, giggling as he goes. We get along about another 200 feet, and suddenly this little mini humanoid about 4 years old runs in front of me, trying to get in my lap. We stop yet again, and I'm trying to tell this kid that no, he can't ride on me. I'm in a hurry. Oh my Lanta, if I'm lying, I'm dying. He proceeds to throw himself onto the ground in front of us, flailing his arms and legs, throwing a tantrum. The attendant and I look at each other thinking WTF, when I guess his dad, Kevin, comes up and starts yelling at me for not giving his darling little crotch mongrel a ride on my lap. Said crotch mongrel jumps up and runs back to me trying to climb up again, stepping on my cast to get to my lap. I give out a very loud resounding "no," and he backs up off me. By now my mood has soured completely, and I'm not in the slightest mind to humor anyone, let alone some fuck nugget trying to jump down my throat because his kid doesn't get told no enough. I lean back and ask the attendant to start pushing before I clean Kevin's clock with my crutch and require bail money. Finally, we reach my terminal. I'm pushed up by the door, so they can load me in the first throng of people, and I thank the attendant for his assistance. I have my carry-on the floor in front of the wheelchair and my cast-covered ankle elevated up on it, trying to ease the throbbing, and another Karen approaches the podium. You can tell she's a Karen right away because she's throwing a spastic fit that those in a wheelchair are to be loaded first. She paid good money to be loaded in the first group, and she insisted that she wants a front window seat. The door attendant tells her that is protocol and that she will be in the first group, that ambulatory, after the disabled people are in their seats. This very well-dressed, perfect makeup ass maggot starts screeching that no, she'll board first, and SHU will pick her seat, and that don't you know who her daddy is? Without batting an eyelash, the door attendant says no, but he's surprised her mom didn't tell her what her dad's name was. That little response boosted my mood incredibly, along with the fact that she looks like a gasping goldfish. We proceed to start getting loaded onto the plane. The lady who is sitting next to me in another wheelchair leans over and whispers that she didn't care where they seated her, but now she really wants to sit in a front row window seat. I whispered back that I'm glad there's two, because I want the other one. Other than her stomping her foot like an overgrown 8-year-old when she realized both of her seats were taken, there was no other problems. It did help that our flight attendant was the one that went viral a few years ago who wanted everyone to pretend they were paying attention. I did get a selfie with her.
This story is the perfect example of entitled behavior. From the first Karen demanding that the OP, who's on crutches with a broken ankle, get up so she can rest, to the tantrum-throwing kid trying to climb into the OP's lap. It's a roller coaster of chaos. And let's not forget about the dad, Kevin, yelling because his kid didn't get his way. But the highlight? The second Karen throwing a fit about boarding first, only to be shut down by the door attendant with a quick, "I'm surprised your mom didn't tell you who your dad is." Honestly, this story had it all. Entitlement, a little revenge, and the sweet satisfaction of seeing someone get what they deserve.
Entitled neighbor complains about warming up a car. We moved into our house in 2019 and met most of our neighbors. The ones we met were super friendly and always willing to help out. We share an alleyway with the houses behind us. The home directly behind us lives the entitled Karen, as my kids call her, EK for short here. She had to be in her 60s. I had lived in our home for almost a year before I finally saw EK outside. She always had someone mow her yard or shovel her snow, so I never actually saw her. The first time I ever met/spoke to her, she was yelling at me when I was picking berries with my kid behind my house. She yelled at me to keep my dogs in my yard. They were right next to me and never go in her yard. We have a fenced yard that they are in 98% of the time. If they're out there walking with us to the car, or right next to us. I stupidly apologized before I actually noticed my dogs were still next to me, but just left it at that and went on my way. That day I knew we would have future issues with her. I was correct, and we continued to have little petty issues throughout the years. The biggest one of her entitlements that sticks with me and still rubs me the wrong way happened in 2022. I had recently lost my mother unexpectedly after a long hospital stay. During the entire time we lived at our house, we have never contacted EK via text. It was only when she was outside, which wasn't often, but she made sure to catch us when she was. This woman somehow got a hold of my fiancé's phone number and texted him shortly after my mother passed. EK text message said she is sorry for the loss of my mother and to stop starting up my roommate's car at 3:30 in the morning. My roommate parked his Jeep in front of our garage and used the alley to exit. He parks on the street when it's legal, but in the winter, he has no choice to park in the driveway. He starts his car up to defrost the window and warm it up in the middle of winter before he goes to work. His Jeep is a brand new Jeep and quiet. My fiancé didn't know what to say and didn't bother to reply. We were still trying to process what happened to my mom. My roommate did not change his ways. He couldn't if he wanted to get to work on time. He did make sure to park in the street as soon as it was legal to do so. I felt bad because parked cars get hit a lot. I, on the other hand, would have upgraded the exhaust and started it up earlier, but to each their own. She still lives there and complains every now and then yet, but has mainly kept to herself. I just could never get over the fact that EK somehow got a hold of our numbers, found out our names, and that my mom died, and still had the audacity to message us in that moment.
EK's entitlement knows no bounds. First yelling at the OP over dogs that weren't even in her yard, then texting about a car warming up at 3:30 a.m. shortly after the OP's mother passed. The audacity to reach out with such a petty complaint while the OP was grieving is unbelievable. Not only did she get their phone numbers, but she also knew about the loss and still decided to make it about her. Some people just don't know when to mind their own business.
Entitled bag thief. My husband does the grocery shopping for us. Today, he was at one of our local grocery stores called Freshco. He finished his shopping and was in the checkout line behind a couple who were in their late 50s. They had both conveyor belts full of groceries as they did not start bagging until the cashier was finished scanning. My husband said that the lady had asked where their free stuff was. The cashier looked at her with a "What are you talking about?" The husband interjected with, "We just spent $270.00, and we thought we would be given free stuff. The other grocery stores do it." The cashier just said, "We don't do that here." Apparently, they were complaining about more things. They caused a backup of the line. Finally, they started loading up their bags, but due to buying so much, they ran out of bags. My husband was in the middle of bagging ours when she turns around, reaches over, and says to my husband as she is grabbing his second bag, "You're not using that bag. You don't need it," and proceeds to put her groceries in it. I will hand it to my husband, who usually does not put up with crap like that, and will put you in your place, lol. Calmly but firmly said, "That's my bag. Give it back. I need it." Even the cashier asked her if she needed a bag. Some people.
Here's the commentary for this one. This entitled couple really thought they were entitled to free stuff just because they spent a lot of money. The kicker? The woman grabs the OP's bag and starts putting her own groceries in it, as if she has any right to take it. But props to the OP's husband for staying calm and firmly asking for his bag back. It's wild how some people think they can just take whatever they want when things don't go their way. Would you have reacted the same way? Or would you have called them out even more? Let me know in the comments.
Entitled person makes the entrance to the parking lot their own personal parking space. Pull up to the store this morning and there's a massive SUV stopped in the entrance lane to the store's parking lot. The entrance lane to the parking lot also happens to be right where the entryway to the store is. No hazards on, but the car is still running with a woman sitting in the driver's seat. So clearly they've sent someone, turned out to be their teenage daughter, into the store to grab something quickly and found it too inconvenient to pull into a parking spot. Which, by the way, it was early and only a few spots were occupied. So the nearest available parking spot was about 10 paces from where this woman's parked. Luckily, it wasn't too busy, so I was able to go around them using the exit lane to enter the parking lot. I just don't understand why this woman couldn't be bothered to pull into a parking spot herself. I see this frequently at other stores too, where people will stop and wait in the no-standing zone in front of a store while their passengers do their shopping, rather than pull into a spot. I don't understand, outside of a disability, why people are so averse to using the parking lot correctly.
This person really thought it was okay to block the entire entrance lane just to save a few extra steps, didn't they? The SUV was just sitting there, running, while the driver's daughter went inside to grab something quickly. It's like the driver couldn't even be bothered to pull into a spot that was right there. Honestly, it's baffling how people think it's okay to park like this and block everyone else, especially when there are plenty of spaces available. It's just a simple matter of being considerate. Do you see this often too? Or is it just me? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And that's it for today's stories, folks. I hope you enjoyed hearing about these entitled moments. And trust me, there's always more where that came from. If you did enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Let's talk about who was in the wrong. Stay tuned for more stories coming your way soon. Catch you in the next video.